All right, what's going on, sixth grade? So I'm at school, so the setup isn't as nice, but let's get it for our study guide. A school had a jump roping contest. Diego jump roped for 20 minutes. So we're told that Diego is jump roping for 20 minutes. And then we're asked, Jada jump roped for 15 minutes. What percentage of Diego's time is that? So we're asked, what is the percentage? So what we're looking for is a percent. And so what we have here is that percent is equal to part over whole. And so if Jada jumped for 15 minutes, that's going to be our part because we're trying to figure out what percent she jumped of Diego. So we could set it up as Jada over Diego and then set that equal to our 15 minutes over 20. How do I know it's 15? Jada jumped for 15. How do I know Diego jumped for 20? Well, it says up here Diego jumped for 20. And so we set that equal to, and so we know percent, right? Percent just means per 100. And so since I want to get my percent out of 100, you see how we're starting at a fraction and we're trying to get to a percent. And so we want to get a denominator of 100. So you ask yourself, what do you multiply 20 by to get to 100? If you don't know, skip count 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You do 20 times 5. Whatever we do on the bottom, we do to the top. So 15 times 5. And so we set up 15 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. Regroup our 2. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7. And so we end up getting 75 per 100, which is just 75%. Because a fraction is out of 100, we know that would be the numerator would be our percent. And so we would say Jada jump roped 75% of the time of Diego. I know this because, and I restate my math, 15 over 20 can be scaled by 5 to get 75 over 100, which is 75%. And so if I jump over B, because it's going to be the same concept over again, and go to C, what we can see here is that now we have Noah, and it's just the same concept. Noah jumped for 9 minutes, Diego jumped for 20, and so we set up Noah over Diego, and so we're looking for our percent, so this would just be 9 over 20. And again, to go from fraction to percent, we set it equal to a denominator of 100, so we multiply 20 times 5, right? We found that up here. And whatever we do at the bottom, we do the top to get 45. As a result, Noah jumped for 45% of the time of Diego. Let's move on to our next one. So for problem number 2, we have Jada bikes 2 miles in 12 minutes. Jada's cousin swims 1 mile in 24 minutes. Who is faster and how much faster? Well, in order to do this, we need to find our unit rate. And so here, Jada, if I was to make a table for Jada, Jada is measuring minutes to miles. And we get that she goes 12 minutes in 2 miles, while her cousin goes 1 mile in 24 minutes. And so what we want to do is we want to get similar units, and that's how we're able to compare their speed. For instance, here, how long does it take Jada to go 1 mile? Well, I know I can do 2 divided by 2 to get 1, and so I can divide both sides by 2. 12 divided by 2 is just 6, and so we get that Jada goes 1 mile in 6 minutes. And so now who's faster? Well, Jada can go 1 mile in less time. And so that just means Jada's faster. So we could say Jada is faster. And how much faster? We could say by 24 minus 6, which is just 18 minutes. Right? I know this because Jada travels 1 mile in 6 minutes, while her cousin travels 1 mile in 24 minutes, which is a difference of 18 minutes. And so here I am just comparing Jada to her cousin by getting Jada how long it takes her to travel 1 mile, and then understanding that 24 minus 6 gives us our difference of 18. And so now we can go to our next one, right? One day, Jada and her cousin line up at the end of a swimming pier on the edge of a lake. At the same time, they start swimming and biking in opposite directions. So how far apart would they be after 48 minutes? So here we're measuring minutes to miles. And so in 6 minutes, Jada goes 1 mile. We just got that from up here. And then finally, the cousin goes 24 minutes in for 1 mile. And so what we want to figure out is how far apart would they be after 48 minutes? Well, I want to line the 48 minutes under our minute section, and then I can use equivalent ratios to solve this problem. For instance, I know 24 times 2 is 48, and 1 times 2 gives us 2. And so this means that Jada's cousin goes 2 miles in 48 minutes. And Jada's cousin ends up going, well, if you don't know what 6 times something is to 48, the strategy you could do is to skip count, right? 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. All I'm doing is adding 6 over and over until I get to 48. And so we get 36, 42, 48, 54, and then finally 60. And so what we know is that we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 6 times 8 gives us 48. Whatever we do to the left, we do to the right, times 8. And so this says that Jada goes 8 miles in 48 minutes. And so then our sentence frame would be as follows. So Jada would be, so we would do 8 miles minus 2 would be 6 miles ahead of of her cousin. And then we would say, I know this because. Now, I'm pretty confident that you guys now would be able to go from this point, looking at our math, on how to explain our reasoning. So we're just going to explain, we found out that Jada went 8 miles in 48 minutes, while her cousin went 2 miles in 48 minutes, and we did that through equivalent ratios. And then we understood that after 48 minutes, Jada would be 6 miles ahead. Why? 8 minus 2 is 6. And then we'd say, I know this because, and then we'd restate how we found out how far Jada went, restate how far her cousin went, and show that as our reasoning. All right, so for here in part A of problem 3, Jada has a new puppy that weighs 9 pounds. The vet says that the puppy is now at 20% of the adult weight. What is the weight what is the adult weight of the puppy going to be? And so we have a double number line to represent this, where we have 0, 20%, we have 9. And what we remember when we have double number lines, is we can skip count. So we get 40%, 60%. And so if I'm adding 20% over, I know I can add 9. Why? Because 9 represents 20%. So we get 27, 80%. We get 36. And then finally, 100%, we end up getting 45. And so if we wanted to show our work and not use a double number line, we could have set it up as 9 over 20% is equal to a denominator of 100% times 5 times 5 to get 45. And so here we have that the adult weighs 45 pounds. I know this because, and then you explain how you use your double number line to get there. And so the adult weighs 45 pounds. I know this because, and then use your reasoning from your double number line to help you down here. All right, let's go to question 2. Well, part B, I should say. And so here you say Andre also has a puppy that weighs 9 pounds. The vet says that the puppy is now about 30% of its adult weight. What would the weight of Andre's puppy be? So this dictates that we need to go back before we can go forward. And so to get from 0 to 30, I would have to go 10, 20, 30. So that's 10%, 20%. And so again, here I go 9, 6, 3. So I know I can skip count by 3s, and that says that 10% of an adult weight would be 3. And so I can go 40%, 50%, 60%, 70%, 80%, 90%, 100%, which means I can also match that up here. And so now I can skip count. We get 40%, 50%, 60%, 70%, 80%, 90%. Then we get 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30. And so we would say the adult weight is 30 pounds. And then we would go in to say, I know this, because, and then use, right, our reasoning of the double number line to go from there. All right, let's move on to the next question. All right, for this one, I'm only going to do part A. So here we have a school had several evening activities last month: a music concert, a basketball game, a drama play, a literacy night. The music concert was attended by 250 people. How many came to each of the other activities? And so attendance at a basketball game was 30% the attendance of the concert. And what we know is the attendance at the concert was 250 people. So that means at the basketball game, it's going to be 30% of the attendance at the concert. So we can write 30% of the attendance at the concert, which is 250. And so here, 30%, right? Percent means per 100. So that would be 30 over 100 times 250. And so we can set, right, when we do fractions, we can set the 250 over 1. And now we multiply across. 100 times 1 is 100. So now I can do 250 times 30, which maybe I do that on the side. 0 times 0 is 0. 0 times 5 is 0. 0 times 2 is 0. Now we're moving over from the ones place to the tens place. So we add a placeholder. 3 times 0 is 0. 3 times 5 is 15, regroup our 1. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. And so we end up getting 7,500. So we put that in our numerator. And so we can cross out our zeros, and we're left with 75. Right? 75 divided by 1 is 75. So we can say 75 people attended the basketball game. Then we don't stop there. We say, I know this because, and then use your reasoning we did here to solve on the right. And if I wanted to set up these ones here, right, attendance at the drama play was 140% of the attendance at the concert. So that's just 140% times 250. And so again, 140% is 140 per 100. And then you solve. And then on the bottom, it's the same thing. 44% would be 44% of 250. So of means multiplication, and you would go from there. And so again, you make into a fraction, you multiply across, then you divide and get your final answer. Let's go to our next question. All right, so for here we have a cheetah can run at a top speed for about 25 seconds. Complete the table to represent the cheetah's running at a constant speed. Explain your reasoning. So here speed, meters per second, is meters per 1 second. And so that's important. So if you have 1 in your table, that means the number on the right would be your unit rate. Just keep that in mind. And so here I can do 120 divided by 4, which if I was to do that on the side, 4 goes into 1 0 times. 4 goes into 12 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12. So we get 0. Carry down our 0. 4 goes into 0 0 times. And so we end up getting that 120 divided by 4 is 30. So we end up getting 30 meters per second. And so since these are unit rates and all equivalent, they're all going to be 30 meters per second. And so now when going left to right, we know that we need to multiply by our unit rate, which is 30. So I can do 25 times 30, right? 0 times 5 is 0. 0 times 2 is 0. When I move over from the ones place to the tens place, I need to add a placeholder. So I add myself a placeholder. And so 3 times 5 is 15. Regroup my 1. 3 times 2 is 6. Plus 1 is 7. So we end up getting 750 meters traveled. And so again, when we go left to right, we multiply. Going right to left, we divide. So here we're going to divide by 30. And so we do 270 divided by 30. 30 goes into 9 0 times. 30 goes into 2 0 times. 30 goes into 27 0 times. And so we got to figure out how many times does 30 go into 270. Maybe you can already tell, right? If this was how many times 3 goes into 27, you would say 9 times. So let's try 9 on the side here to see if that works. So 9 times 0 is 0. 9 times 3 is 27. So that means it goes in 9 times. And so this means that if we traveled 270 meters, we went for 9 seconds. And so now you guys would use your words here to explain how you got your information on your table. All right, good job.